And then on Fridays, I worked it out with my boss that I could work 410s a while back during the pandemic. And so that's worked out well for me so that I could have Friday, Saturday, and Sunday every single day. I did not skip unless I was sick. I think I was maybe sick like once, but you cannot ignore the fact that the pressure is real. Plans can always change, but if you don't have one to begin with, it's really hard to develop one on the fly. Like the first subject was math, took a long time to get through, longer than probably I should have spent on it, but it was very helpful. Occasionally I would look over at my mirrored door on my closet where I'd take a dry erase board or dry erase pen and I'd write like, logic, math and all this. Trust the program that you have developed. Live vicariously through your confidence in me to do a good job, because I knew that I had what it took inside me. I just didn't know how to apply it. I know I did something, and that's a very important part of this whole journey, is always doing something, anything, even if it's just rewriting your notes.
Yeah.
Something to keep the wheels greased.
Hi, Matt.
Oh, hey, Wasim.
How's it going?
Pretty good. How about you?
I'm doing well, thank you. So, Matt, thanks a lot for taking time out of your busy schedule. I know you work on site and you have a lot of hands-on work, long hours, commissioning, startup, and field activities. But I appreciate you taking time. And many, many congratulations to you on passing this exam on the first attempt with me, FE Electrical. So I will let you walk through your exam prep journey, Matt, when it all started and how you went about it.
All right. So essentially, 6 months before graduation, I had some buddies saying, did you sign up to take this exam? I'm like, I don't even know what exam you're talking about. And so it was very fast paced to sign up and even get scheduled for it. I was, we'll just say, overconfident and didn't put any effort into studying for it the first time.
And when was that?
That was 2012.
2012.
Yeah,
Okay.
somewhere winter 2012, and I drove all the way to Sacramento, California, and hung out with my buddies, but I didn't put any effort into it, thinking that it's in my head, I got this, no problem. And some of that might be true. It might have been in my head, but over the course of 4 years, all that information's kind of jumbled. So there's no real organization to what I thought I knew. So needless to say, I did not pass the test, unluckily. I got my results. I looked at them. I took it again in 2014, did not pass again because I didn't study again. Now, that time I wanted to study, but I was working 40 hours a week. And it's not that I didn't have the time, I didn't make the time, right? And so in the last 6 months when I joined your program, I made the time and really put forth a tremendous amount of effort. I mean, calendars, they're full. Every single day was
Keeping track
full
of
of something.
Yeah. And the interesting thing is that you probably had to make time when you actually had less time in 2023 compared to maybe in 2014.
Oh,
Because,
absolutely.
as I mentioned, you're a field engineer, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and that just is a very challenging work because you're dealing sometimes reactively, sometimes proactively, but there's always something happening and that needs to be resolved, very quickly. Firefighting, basically.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, whether you did something physical or not, you were probably going to be tired anyways, because if you weren't
Yes.
climbing a ladder or lifting heavy things, you're lifting heavy things with your mind, and that was just as exhausting, if not worse, throughout the day.
Right. So let us make that connection between 2014 and 2023. So that's a huge gap, right? That's more than 8 years, 9 years gap.
For sure.
So what was happening between that and what triggered you in 2023 to actually dive back into the FE exam prep after 2 failures?
I watched a couple of my peers, younger and older, study for it, and I was able to commiserate my exhaustion on the whole process. They were struggling, and I wasn't in the class yet, but I was watching them be frantic, and so I had some conversations about my experiences, and the fact that keeping it cool is very important. But anywho, that all inspired me essentially to jump back on the horse, but this time for real. And I honestly, I didn't even know that there was any programs out there. Like I knew, sure, there was probably something, but I didn't know because it wasn't like popping up in my feed or word of mouth. There just wasn't a good um, avenue for me to get that information. you know but they told me that they had like study materials and all this kind of stuff, and that they had a plan for how they were going to do it, and a book to prepare with. That was another thing, is like, how do you pick the book? There's so many,
Right.
now that there's just so many. um, but when I chose your program, it was based off of word of mouth. Somebody said, hey, try this guy out. And so I knew that my best bet would be to trust the program that you have developed and live vicariously through your confidence in me to do a good job, because I knew that I had what it took inside me. I just didn't know how to apply it.
Right.
And I think that it really helped having you as a kind of a mentor for all that.
So in 2023, Matt, do you remember the month that you signed up for my program? I can look it up on my end, but roughly
Feel like it was maybe the end of July
end of summer
or
or
early
midsummer.
August. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So in
Hmm.
August, you or July, let's say August, you started the program. In September, I started the live training, and you were going with the on-demand content on your own, and then doing the homeworks on a weekly basis in a 3-month period, 12 weeks. We basically cover all 17 sections. So I remember that you took the exam, I think, second week of December, first week of December, because you were going to take, or actually right at
It
the
was
end
the
of,
very
yeah,
last week of November.
very last week of November, right? So August to November, so that's what, about 4 months, right? Roughly.
Yep.
So in four
Yeah. It
months,
was like 2 days after our last live training.
yeah, the last class one was on 26th of November.
3 days.
Yeah, 26th of November. That's when we did the overview. That's when we did a complete wrap up of all the 17 sections. And then you went in and took the exam. But I can attest to the fact that during those 3 months, 12 weeks, you were showing up to every single live class. And it is not easy, trying to keep up with the homework assignments, completing the on demand content, which contains 250 plus lectures, tons of quizzes. And at certain points, you did mention that you were sort of falling behind a little bit. But I think your goal was pretty clear in your mind, that I have to commit to completing as much of this as possible, showing up to every single class, as you said, believe in the process, put the time and effort, and follow it rigorously over that time frame, and that will get the job done, right? So you kept it pretty simple. I mean, it's not easy though. I'm not trying to sugarcoat it. It's not easy. It's
Oh
great.
yeah,
And
no.
I would like you to speak to it in terms of what your average week or typical day looked like, and the level of effort, and the drain that you had to.
The drain. Yes. I finally have blood back in my face. It's
Right.
been it's been an interesting ride. I would say from in the beginning, so there was kind of a pace that I set for myself to, as you had mentioned, you wanted me to go through before all the live training started to finish all the on-demand content. So I said, okay, well, I can just dive into it, or I can have a plan. And
Right.
plans can always change, but if you don't have one to begin with, it's really hard to develop one on the fly.
You'll be lost in the
Um,
chaos. Yeah.
yes, for sure. And so I went into, opened like a calendar app and just started entering in all the subjects and copying them through the weeks, and organizing my time in such a way. I took all the percentages and the weightage that you had mentioned about each section, how much content, and I used those ratios to develop an amount of time that I could apply towards the calendar week for a given subject, and came up with some hours for each subject, and then just met those goals one at a time. Now, there was like the first subject was math, took a long time to get through, longer than probably I should have spent on it, but it was very helpful. But changing that plan over time was what did it for me. Now, as for my day to day, it was fairly grueling. I'd get up at, you know, 6 o'clock, get ready for work, work 7 to 5. And, occasionally I would look over at my mirrored door on my closet where I'd take a dry erase board and or dry erase pen, and I'd write like logic, math, and all this, you know, just to have something to eyeball throughout the day. But at the end of the day, I would spend a minimum 2 hours,
Right.
minimum, every single day. And then on Fridays, I worked it out with my boss that I could work 4 10s a while back during the pandemic, and so that's worked out well for me, so that I could have Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And so I'd work 10 hours or more, and towards the end it was more. 10 hours on Friday, 10 hours on Saturday, 10 hours on Sunday, and then back to the grind on Monday. And every single day I did not skip unless I was sick. I think I was maybe sick like once, but you cannot ignore the fact that the pressure is real, but you need to use that pressure for a positive outcome,
Right.
and really remain focused and breathe and keep in mind the end goal.
Right. Amazing. And this, I think, more than using the right resources, more than giving yourself ample amount of time, more than uh, anything else, to be honest, I would say that the starting point has to be that mindset that you are embarking on this project that will require you to put up this level of effort in order to get this result. Once your mindset, once your frame of mind, once your approach, attitude, whatever you want to call it, is in the right place, then things start, working out. I'm not saying that, hey, you use my program or my book and it's a silver bullet that is going to do the trick for you, right? It will help. I mean, if you are inefficient in your studying, using something that is really not helping you progress, obviously that is not going to serve the end goal. But before all of that, having that clarity of mind that what you're after is going to take this level of effort and that willingness, I mean, there will come point where you will have a little bit of, frustration, a little bit of anxiety, nervousness,
Sure.
grudge, or whatever you want to call it, right? Those negative emotions, I mean, it's overwhelming, right? Self-doubt creeps in along the way sometimes. All of those things are just being part and parcel of being a human, and dealing with something as significant as the FE and the P licensing I like to think of it as a stepping stone for really your P license. In grand scheme of things, FE exam is just one exam, but getting a P license is a big deal. So that mindset that you talked about, that leaving no stone unturned and showing up every single day, regardless of what your mood is, regardless of how you're feeling, how tired you are, with the exception of obviously if you're sick. That is amazing, Matt, and that really is a key difference, especially for folks who've been out of school for a long time. Because I'll be honest, you are at a disadvantage. Anybody
Yeah.
who's been out of school for more than 2 3 years, I would say, maybe even 2 3 years is pushing, you are at a disadvantage as compared to the students who are just
I'm
graduating.
up against a very difficult average. I have to
Exactly.
be better than the average,
Yes.
but the average
Yes.
came out of school 8 weeks ago. Like,
Exactly, exactly. And this is something you need to comprehend. So, how do you compensate for that? The only way to compensate is by overworking, right? By making sure you're putting the time and effort using the right prep resources.
yeah, and being willing to acclimate as things become stressful. You have to take the time to maybe refocus and change the trajectory of your study habits.
Right. So with the 3 prep resources that you use, my on-demand course, my live training, and the study guide, which one you found the most effective, and how did they sort of help you, each one of them, along the way?
I was thinking that in the beginning I was like, oh, the study guide, I'll use that, and that'll be my primary source, and not so much. That was a backup to my backup. It was, if I had extra time, yes, I would work on those. But that was the primary goal, was the on-demand training for me.
Okay.
The live training fills in all the holes on the weekend that you weren't able to figure out. And one thing about the on-demand training, it's all on demand, right? It's all recorded. And it's not fully scripted, right? You don't just read off of a sheet and then
Right.
you're done. There's interaction for some of it, and the fact that I could get off at 5 on a really bad day where I really just didn't have much left in me, and I could at the very least watch like 2 or 3 videos.
Yeah.
I know I did something, and that's a very important part
Oh
of
yeah.
this whole journey, is always doing something, anything, even if it's just rewriting your notes,
Yeah.
something to keep the wheels greased.
For sure.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I definitely use the on-demand training the most, and the live training, I would watch the archived ones to try and maybe get ahead when I knew that I didn't have enough time. It was a very useful tool, having it all accessible online.
And your participation and engagement in the live classes was amazing. You were learning few tips and tricks, for example, on the side based on your own research. You were, very generous to share your thoughts and your approach, both on the community platform as well as in the live classes. And that told me that, you are, I don't want to use the word enjoying the journey necessarily, because it's not fun. I know I'd be
Yeah, well, I mean, it's
in
it's
some way.
certainly not an excitement
Right.
type of thing. You're like,
Right, but you
not
were
happy to do
immersed.
it, but
You were immersed in that project, right? You were absorbed, and you were actually swimming through it from the starting point all the way to the ending point. And there were tough sections, there are tough concepts along the way, and we dealt with them as we went along. So, once again, many congratulations, Matt, and thanks a lot for your time. Thanks a lot for sharing your tips and your journey. And you are now in my P Power program. We're going to kickstart the P Power exam preparation very soon. I look forward to being part of your journey and helping you through your P licensing process.
buy 2 calculators. That's my last
Okay,
thing.
thanks. I recently had one student who told me his calculator failed on him during the
Yes.
exam. Okay,
Hmm.
and you know what the funny thing is? The guy ended up passing the exam.
Sure.
Yeah. So some nature of questions, I guess, if they don't require you, and they do have a small calculator over there, which is, in my opinion, not very helpful. But bring 2 calculators. That's a good one. Thanks, Matt. Thank you.
Thank you, Wasim.
If you like this video, then please don't forget to subscribe this channel. Feel free to ask me any questions in the comment section of this video below. You can find tons of stories of my FE Electrical and P Power students over here. And if you want to learn more about preparation of these exams, then click here to learn more. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon in the next video.